Hi, it's Bumble. Welcome back to my channel. So I've seen probably like 4 Beatles movies, and it's funny with talking about this one, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band, because this is like the second jukebox musical movie I've seen with Beatles music where characters are named after the characters in Beatles songs. But this also isn't like the weirdest Beatles movie I've ever seen. But it is definitely weird. It's kind of a weird place if I had to like kind of mentally rank the ones I've seen, because I've seen here, and I'll kind of sum these up to Yesterday, where it's about this guy who's the only person in the world who remembers the Beatles. There's another Beatles jukebox musical. I think it's called Across the Universe. That one, I think if I had to compare that with this one, they have like completely different tones. This one's very like silly and whimsical, like a bit too cheesy and like very 70s. And it's like full of celebrity cameos and stuff. Which I have some like mixed feelings about. And then Across the Universe is like way more serious, where the main character might as well be like one of the Beatles in a sense, and it's like definitely got more of a serious tone, kind of way less whimsical and stuff. I think this one has like better singing though. And then I recently watched Yellow Submarine. That one I can easily say is like the weirdest of the like Beatles movies. I'm also including, movies about the Beatles or their music in here. I mean, that one has like the actual Beatles like playing themselves and voicing their animated counterparts, but that one's more weird in like in the plot sense. I can't describe the plot of that movie, but the animation and everything is like very kind of psychedelic almost. This one's weird in like it's just weird in kind of cheesy sort of way. I don't really know how to describe that. But they have a lot of big names in here. Let me start off with kind of describing the plot, because I'll be honest, I doubt people are watching this movie for the actual story and are just here for like the music. It's basically like a bunch of famous people singing Beatles songs. That's like pretty much the whole movie. But yeah, it's that there's this like small town called Heartland, where they've always had the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. I always say, let me just say, I always think that's interesting with Beatles movies, where it'll be about like the Beatles music or something, and the fictional Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band from that album and stuff end up being like real people in a sense. I always just find that like an interesting angle. I mean, it probably makes it like the easiest angle to go to in terms of like, oh, we're gonna sing Beatles songs in a movie about Beatles music and stuff. That's like kind of the easiest way to shoehorn them in without, literally having the characters be the Beatles or something. But yeah, it's like this town has always had that band, but the members are too old. They've all like kind of passed away. But the grandson of like the original Sgt. Pepper starts a new band, and he's played by Peter Frampton. I've probably heard his music. I don't know any of his songs. I did really like his voice, but it was funny because like I'd watched the opening credits and I still like I didn't know who he was or anything. Not like who is this character, but I didn't know who Peter Frampton was. But I think he sings pretty good. I'm assuming he's, in terms of how this movie is with his character Billy Shears, because like I said, everyone's named after a Beatles character, pretty much, mostly everyone. I'm assuming he was supposed to be more of the big star compared to like the Bee Gees, which was kind of funny to me because I didn't know who Peter Frampton was, but I actually really like the Bee Gees. So for me, it was kind of the opposite, where I'm like, no, put the Bee Gees back on screen. I think there's like 4 Bee Gees brothers, but Andy Gibb isn't in this, which I find kind of funny because, there's like 4 Beatles. There's like 4 of these brothers, but it's only Barry, Robin, and Maurice in this. Yeah, but they all sing together and like harmonize together very well and stuff. And I like how the movie's excuse of having this one guy in the Bee Gees is that like I said, the grandson of the like original Sergeant Pepper ends up becoming the new Sergeant Pepper, and it's him and his 3 childhood best friends who just happen to be the Bee Gees, is basically how it goes. But yeah, it's like they perform in this town, and the villain of this movie is this guy named Mean Mr. Mustard, or just Mr. Mustard from the song Mean Mr. Mustard. He travels around in this weird looking van that looks kind of gross on the inside, I think because everything's mustard color. And he has this henchman who I didn't even really realize it until my dad pointed out. I'm not sure if it's the same actor, but it looks like the guy that plays Lurch in the Addams Family movies. I think from the newer ones. I'm like trying to remember. Oh yeah, for context, this movie's from like 1978, so it's pretty old, which also means, unfortunately, with me talking about it, there's like a bajillion like well-known musicians and stuff that all show up at the end of the movie to sing, and it's a really cool moment. I maybe recognized like 1 or 2 of them, and then it was funny because at that point with the movie, when I was finishing it, that's when my parents had showed up and were watching some of this with me, and they recognized like pretty much everyone, where they, because it goes through very fast of showing all these people's faces, and they're like, oh, that's so and so, and I'm like, I don't know who this is. And I felt kind of bad, but yeah, that's because it's like an older movie and stuff. But there are a bunch of celebrities that play, or musicians and stuff, and I guess also a celebrity. I don't think... Wait, no, Steve Martin is a musician. He plays the banjo. What am I talking about? He's in this too. He doesn't play the banjo, but him and a couple of other people play the villains, which is kind of fun. Except for the main villain, Mr. Mustard. I don't know who plays him, but it's this guy who kind of looks like Mel Brooks, and then the entire time of the movie I was just thinking, why isn't this guy being played by Mel Brooks? It would be like a perfect role for, it feels like someone that he would play. But yeah, there's this guy named Mean Mr. Mustard. I just like calling him like that by the full name. Peter Frampton's character, Billy Shears, has this girlfriend. Her name's Strawberry Fields, which, you know, besides the song, I think that does sound like a good name, but it also just sounds really cheesy when you're just referring to someone by the first name Strawberry. And Mr. Mustard likes her and plans to kidnap her, but that's only like towards the end of the movie. And his thing is he wants to take over the town of Heartland, and he works for this mysterious company called oh gosh, what was it? It's like an abbreviation for most of the movie until you actually get to see them. It's like FVB, something like that. I'll tell you what it stands for when I get towards the end of the movie. And he has to also collect the so-called magic instruments that belong to the original Sgt. Pepper band. So yeah, most of the plot, or in terms of the characters' decisions, do kind of just revolve around whatever Beatles song needs to play next, which means the movie's kind of weird a lot of the time, where things kind of just happen just so that the song can play. But it's also about this like small town band. They get picked up by this record agency to become superstars, but then they end up quitting that halfway through the movie, and it turns into a fetch quest to collect the magical instruments and eventually rescue Strawberry Fields. That's pretty much it. The plot's just kind of whatever, really, but I'm here to talk about the music and stuff. There's like I'm actually pulled up YouTube so I wouldn't forget like the order of songs. So there's like 24 of them in here, and they're all Beatles songs. They're all Beatles songs I like. The problem is, and this is just personal opinion, really. Some performances in this movie are definitely better than others, I should say. I mean, I also didn't recognize a lot of the actors that were just playing like the side characters. I don't know if they were like people that were singers and musicians too. I wasn't sure. So there might be somebody in here I might say like I didn't really care for their voice, and it turns out to be someone that's like super well known or whatever. But yeah, I'll talk about some of the performances I liked and some of the ones I was like, okay. Or maybe I'll just go through all the songs. I don't know. So it starts off with a performance of the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band song, and With a Little Help from My Friends. I really liked the With the Help from My Friends performance because it introduces the Bee Gees and Peter Frampton as this band and stuff. And that's when Peter Frampton's character is introduced as Billy Shears at the same time in the song they're saying, and here he is, Billy Shears. Sorry, I'm gonna have to like get myself to not sing along when I'm talking about these songs. I'm a really big Beatles fan. They're all very catchy and stuff, but that performance, I liked the way it was shot too, where they're performing in this little like gazebo and the camera's just kind of circling around them, and there's this big crowd, and the town of Heartland's also interesting. I'm assuming this movie's supposed to take place in the 70s because the town itself feels like it's stuck in like 50s America, but then everywhere outside of that location everyone's dressed like it's the 70s. The band in this movie, the Lonely Hearts Club Band especially, I mean, the Bee Gees all have their iconic hair and stuff, which was kind of distracting during the whole movie. My parents kept commenting on it once they started watching the movie as well. But everyone's got like the big 70s hair and the flashy outfits and the tight pants and stuff, but you know, that was the fashion movie from the 1970s. But yeah, I liked that performance of With a Little Help from My Friends. There's this one part of it I really liked, because mentally I was kind of comparing all the performances in the movie to like the original Beatles like counterparts and stuff. There's this one line, I'm trying to remember, because I actually watched the performance twice. I watched it, you know, when I was originally watching the movie, and then I got to the end of the movie and I wanted to show it to my parents. It's the line, "Do you need anybody?" And when they sing, because it's like a sort of call and response kind of thing, with like Billy Shears, you know, singing one part, and then the characters the Bee Gees are played by are singing like another part, and the Bee Gees have that line, and they take the note like for the word need, it goes a bit higher than like how the Beatles sing it, and the way they just kind of harmonize on that note, it just sounds so good. And that's like the main reason I liked that performance, where there's like not too many subtle changes like that on some of the songs, but it's nice, it like fits. Sandy Farina, that's who plays Strawberry Fields. She gets a couple of songs as well. She gets to sing Here Comes the Sun. I don't really remember how I thought of I wish the instruments were like a little less. Hold on, let me actually listen to it really quick. I'm trying to remember. Okay, sorry, I might have to pause every once in a while just to re-listen to these to like remember. Yeah, the guitars on it the instruments sound like a bit different on the version in this movie. At some parts of the song, I kind of like it, like the bass, and sometimes I didn't. I've never heard of Sandy Farina. She does a good job singing this song. Her voice kind of reminds me, or especially with this song, kind of reminds me of Karen Carpenter, which is, you know, that's always nice. I like the Carpenters. But it's very like gentle and stuff. I think I'm just so used to hearing Here Comes the Sun specifically from the end of the Bee movie, and that's just what I'm used to. Getting Better is also good. it ends up being, some of the songs, because of what's going on in the plot, end up getting a bit shortened, and I was kind of bummed about that, because I liked the performance of Getting Better. It's used in like a travel montage thing. Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, oh yeah, there's like this girl group of performers in the movie. I don't know who they're actually played by, but there's 4 of them, and it's a band in universe called Lucy and the Diamonds, so they get to sing Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. I really liked that performance. Same with I Want You, She's So Heavy. I usually like the song She's Leaving Home. It happens in the story when Strawberry Fields goes to try to chase after the Sgt. Pepper band. It's just that it's one of those, because there's like a lot of side characters in this movie, and a lot of them like get their own songs, and those were some of the times I didn't really care for the performances. Like the actors who play Strawberry's parents get to sing quite a bit in this version of She's Leaving Home, and I didn't really like how they sounded. Robin Gibb gets to sing Oh Darling. That one gets like a little bit interrupted, but I really liked it, because usually with the Bee Gees in this movie, it's like the 3 of them singing together. I think this is like the one time in the movie where it's just like one of them getting to sing. Oh, I forgot about You Never Give Me Your Money. Let me listen to that one real quick. Okay, I do want to talk about You Never Give Me Your Money. It transitions after like the first minute or so to being kind of more upbeat, being kind of disco. I actually really liked it. I mean, there's a lot more of like disco influences in general in this movie, because you know it's from the 70s, but I really like the version here. I've never heard of Diane Steinberg, but she sings the song in this movie. She sounds great. She's her character is Lucy from like Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, so she gets like a couple of songs to sing, but I really like especially how she sounds in the beginning of that song. Let me see, and then we start getting to some, I'm like well, no, I'm just going in order of this actually. So Steve Martin is in this movie. He okay, because the thing with I mentioned about the magic instruments, right? They're all sent to different, like, kind of evil people and stuff. There's, like, mini villains or whatever in this movie. And Steve Martin plays one of them where he's Maxwell, as in, like, Maxwell's Silver Hammer. I think he's, like, a surgeon or something. It was kind of funny to see at first, because I was immediately thinking of his dentist character in Little Shop of Horrors. I wish I could actually remember how he sounds in that movie, because I didn't really like his singing and him singing Maxwell's Silver Hammer in this movie. I just didn't care for how he sounded, and I do usually like that song. I mean, I feel like he is like a good choice for that song, because it's a very kind of like all over the place sort of song, a bit more silly. I mean, it is about killing people with a hammer, but it's like very bouncy sounding and stuff, and he's good at playing these kind of weird, kind of villainous characters. I'm thinking more of like the dentist character from Little Shop of Horrors, which now I kind of want to watch that again. But yeah, that was a performance. I was grieving with all the songs in the movie so far, and then I got to that song and I'm like, aw. Because that's the thing, I like all of the songs that are in this movie, so it's a bummer when I get to performances I personally don't really care for as much, and I'm like, dang, it's like they almost kind of wasted that song a bit. And then we get this medley of Polythene Pam. I don't really ever remember how that one goes. She Came In Through the Bathroom Window and Nowhere Man. I really, really like the song She Came In Through the Bathroom Window, like just in general, but I always end up forgetting the title of it because it's kind of a really long title. But I really like the performance of it in this movie. I don't remember how Nowhere Man sounds in this, but I always like that song too. And then you also get performances from other like real world bands and stuff as well. One of my favorites in this movie was they had Earth, Wind and Fire. They're not playing like characters or anything, they're just themselves. It's basically that the Heartland town has this like charity performance. They also end up having the song which isn't listed on here actually. Oh no, wait, it is. It's later on, being for the benefit of Mr. Kite, because the mayor of Heartland is named Mr. Kite. But yeah, so Earth, Wind and Fire, like the actual group, show up for this benefit concert, and they have the song got to Get You Into My Life, which they end up making like very just kind of chill and stuff. I think it's a song that really fits like that group very well. I actually loved that performance. And then Strawberry gets the song Strawberry Fields Forever. I thought it was okay. And then Mr. Mustard. Oh, he's played by Frankie Howard. I don't know who that is. He gets When I'm 64. I did not like that performance, but I think it's also just kind of a bit of an uncomfortable scene to watch as well, because like I said, his character has a crush on Strawberry Fields, the character, not the song, and he ends up kidnapping her at one point, and with that scene he's like singing to her about, you know, the lyrics of like When I'm 64. It's supposed to be more of like kind of sweet, of like, oh, will you take care of me when I'm 64, like kind of almost like a will we grow older together and will we still be together sort of song. It's usually really nice, but then with the way he's singing it to her, it's like she's definitely not interested in him, and it just comes off as really creepy, especially because there's a couple of times, I think because of the lyrics and some of the other songs, or no, the lyrics in Me and Mr. Mustard about like, oh, he's a dirty old man, and when he like sings that, because that's the next song, he's like happy about it, it just comes off as like really creepy. He's like a weird character where it's like he comes off as just kind of a bit icky and gross, but then he's also this kind of like almost cartoon dastardly villain kind of a vibe at times, so I don't really know how to feel about him, to be honest. But I didn't really like that song in here, When I'm 64. It's just interesting to hear it in a movie like performed by the villain and with more of like a kind of grosser tone. Anyway, then George Burns is in this movie. He plays Mr. Kite. He gets to sing Fixing a Hole. His voice, this might sound kind of weird, I think when he's like singing that song, kind of reminds me of John Goodman, you know, like the actor that plays Scully in Monsters, Inc. That's what I always kind of know him for, but he's in like a ton of stuff. But it is, I feel like their voices sound kind of similar, maybe because George Burns has like kind of a lower voice. I mean, he also does sound a lot older because he's like an old man in this, so I feel like I can't really judge his voice that well. He just sounds old, but I always like that song. So Alice Cooper is in this. I think his character is named like Father Son or something, like sun as in the sun in the sky. And his character, because he's one of the villains, is basically like he used to get bullied in school and now he controls all the TVs or something, and he's like trying to get back at his like bullies or whatever, even though he's like an adult now. He gets the song Because. Let me listen to that one too. Sorry, I was just listening to Alice Cooper sing Because. It's I actually kind of like it. He sounds like he would be a villain in like an 80s dark fantasy film or something. It has that kind of vibe of being like an old wizard or something. I can like just picture it in my head. It just comes off as kind of creepy. I've never really listened to much of like Alice Cooper or anything, but I just love how like kind of weird and almost spooky this song sounds, but in like a good way. And then the Bee Gees have the like backing vocals where they just sound like themselves and stuff, doing the like ahs in the background. I don't think I really cared for it at first. I actually forgot that Alice Cooper was in the movie until I got to the credits. I don't think I realized it was him at first with the song. I'm like, who was singing this? So I feel like I didn't really care for it at first. Now that I'm listening to it again, I'm like, okay, I'm kind of vibing with this now. Okay, let me see. What is the next one? Oh, Golden Slumbers. I really like the version of Golden Slumbers in here. Oh yeah, because there ends up being... okay, sorry, I'm looking at the notes. At the song titles. I'm trying to remember the order of things, because there's like a part of the movie where it just, I think they're out of order on this album. Yeah. Okay, so I can't talk about Golden Slumbers yet, because that has to do with the part of the plot we're on. I need to talk about the, I guess, actual main villain, like the person that Mr. Mustard is actually working for, because that was kind of a surprise until they showed up. I assumed, because it was just an abbreviation, it was okay, now I actually have to look up the abbreviation. It started with an F. It was like, because I assumed the abbreviation was just like someone's name or like a company, and I thought the villain was just gonna be one person, but the villain, you find out the abbreviation stands for something of like future whatever band. There's like a V in the middle, I don't remember, but the villains of the movie turn out to just be the band Aerosmith. And that part of the movie was just really funny to me. They get to perform, not in terms of the song was great, but I just mean the actual scene itself. It just feels so dramatic, and I don't know. They get to sing Come Together. It sounds really good. I'd say out of the, I guess there's only really like two, of like Earth, Wind and Fire, then Aerosmith, of like other real world bands getting to sing Beatles songs and stuff. But I really liked those performances. That was stuff with the movie I didn't mind, of like so many famous musicians being in this movie. I feel like if they had like more and more bands, it would have been kind of crazy, because it's supposed to focus on like the Sgt. Pepper's band and stuff. But these performances of these like two bands just being here just so they can sing Beatles songs, I don't care what the excuse and the plot is, I'll take it. But it's a good performance. Because I think I've listened to some Aerosmith songs, but I don't think I've ever actually seen what the band looks like. So that was interesting for me with this movie. But yeah, what's going on with the story is they're singing, and there's all of these like background dancers actually, and then the Sgt. Pepper's band is there, and they're trying to rescue Strawberry Fields, and the lead singer of Aerosmith is like trying to strangle Billy Shears or something. It gets kind of crazy. It breaks down to a fight when they're still all singing like Come Together. And then if anything with that song, I would have assumed it would have been like a song the Sgt. Pepper's band would have sung, maybe as like a we're the heroes, we're gonna defeat the villain kind of songs. I feel like it just kind of gives that vibe, or sort of as like a kind of friendship song type of thing, and instead it's sung by like the main villains, and it's them, and they're wanting to sing and build this like army or something. So that was kind of an interesting usage of it, but I thought that was cool, like different than what I expected. But yeah, the performance is really good. I guess I gotta listen to more Aerosmith now. Same with Earth, Wind and Fire. I only really know like a couple of their songs. If there's any takeaway from this movie for me, it's that there's at least 3 different people I have to just start listening to now, including Peter Frampton. But anyway, yeah, and then Strawberry Fields, they try to rescue her, and she, I think, ends up falling backwards or something, and because she was going to be turned into like an Aerosmith groupie. It's really funny the way the narrator describes it, of like, oh, this future band, they're gonna take over Heartland, and but worst of all, they're gonna turn Strawberry Fields into a groupie. And I was thinking, like, that sounds fun to be an Aerosmith groupie. But yeah, she falls over backwards and dies, and then you have like a bunch of kind of sad, like the characters are sad songs, but it just kind of keeps going for like a little bit too long, as they have Golden Slumbers. I really liked how Peter Frampton sung it. It sounded really nice. It's him singing it. Strawberry Fields is in, because the characters are back in Heartland now. Strawberry Fields is in this glass casket, which kind of reminded me of the one from like Snow White. I think that's like the one other time I've seen like a sort of just like the maiden character who's tragically dead is in the glass casket and everything. That sort of thing almost feels kind of princessy in a way. But yeah, he sings Golden Slumbers at her. I was almost expecting with that, because I was thinking of Snow White, of like, because this movie's already a little cheesy anyway, of like, oh, he's gonna lift open the casket, they're gonna like copy Snow White, and he's gonna kiss her and she's gonna come back to life. But it's like, no, she's dead, and then he ends up really sad, and he ends up singing The Long and Winding Road. That one's good as well. And then there's this like fantasy montage or something of the Bee Gees singing A Day in the Life, and it's them and Billy Shears kind of moving on, and you know, after the death of Strawberry Fields, and becoming more of a like well-known band or whatever, but it's just like a fantasy montage type thing. Oh, I forgot about Being for the Benefit of Mr. Kite, because the album has the songs in a different order than in the stories, but I meant to talk about that one earlier. That one, the performance is cool, where it's like they're going to put on that benefit concert I mentioned, where they have the Earth, Wind and Fire performing, and it's just like a fun performance. They have all these dancers and stuff. They have this guy in like a horse costume, just because there's a lyric in For the Benefit of Mr. Kite about like a waltzing horse or whatever. And then I also forgot about A Day in the Life. Oh wait, no, I think that's what I just talked about. Yeah, sorry. And then the ending just gets completely ridiculous. Okay, so there's an important thing I forgot to mention about. I mentioned that there was an original in the context of the story, like Sgt. Pepper's band, right? Well, when the members of that band end up all passing away, Mr. Kite, the mayor, he ends up making this like weather vane. Yeah, this weather vane that you see a couple times in the movie, of this guy playing, was it a trumpet? I don't remember. I think it was like a trumpet. And at the end of the movie, you know, when everybody's like sad about Strawberry Fields and the Sgt. Pepper's band has split up, it's a moment I really like, because the song is performed really well, but it's just one of those like happy ending override. Or wait, no, that's not the right use of that phrase. No, because that's for like if there's a happy ending and it's suddenly ruined. I'm trying to think of the opposite thing, where everybody's sad and then everything immediately becomes happy and fixed and stuff. Billy Preston, the weather vane comes to life, and it's just Billy Preston, and he sings Get Back, and of course he sings really good. It's a good song and stuff, and his character, I didn't know if he was like actually playing Billy Preston, because I don't think he was part of the original Sergeant Pepper's band. I don't really remember. I mean, by the time we do see that band, they're or no, we see them when they're all young and then they end up being older. I think he's more so like the spirit of the weather vane or something. But he has magic abilities or something. He literally starts shooting these like magic blue beams of light out of his hands, and it just fixes everything. Like literally when he shows up, Billy Shears is about to like, you know, jump off a roof to end his life, and he jumps off the roof, and you know, because he can't live without strawberry fields. That's what I'm assuming anyway, because there actually isn't a lot of spoken dialogue in this movie, especially with the main characters. They like barely have any lines. A lot of the times you'll see people talk and they'll like point or they'll talk to each other and their mouths are moving but you don't hear anything. I think the person that actually has the most dialogue in this movie is Mr. Mustard and his robots. Oh, I forgot. He has these like two robots. The robots, they sing like two songs. I actually don't mind Beatles music being sung in these like really robotic voices, which it kind of just sounds like it's almost like people's voices but like with a robotic vocal thing over it or whatever. But it sounded pretty good. I forgot the robots get a couple songs too. I think they're called the Computerettes or something. They're not listed in the soundtrack. I'm actually a little disappointed about that because they had some good Beatles songs to sing. But yeah, barely anyone has lines, but you're able to kind of guess what's happening like fairly easily. It's like very visually like obvious kind of what's happening. But yeah, the main characters barely get to actually verbally speak at all. They're just there and they sing and they react to things and they sing some more, and that's about it. But yeah, Billy Preston shoots the like beam out of his hand and it just puts Billy Shears back on the roof. And then the villains at this point, Aerosmith, whoever they're playing in the movie has been like defeated or whatever. I think one of them falls or gets pushed off of something, and I don't remember what happens to the other members, but like Mean Mr. Mustard and stuff, and Billy Shears I think has like this greedy brother, or there's somebody in this movie who's like a side character who's really greedy, who gets the song I don't remember. Some greedy person gets a Beatles song to sing, but then Billy Preston uses his like magic powers or whatever, which, you know, they're just magic beams out of his hands, which I find really funny. I would have assumed it would have been like the music itself is magic or whatever, but no, and turns all the villains into like priests and nuns or something. I thought it was kind of weird. But yeah, so the main characters don't actually do anything to the villains at all, which was a little disappointing because like they kidnapped Strawberry, which led to her eventually being like killed and stuff, and Mr. Mustard literally took over the town of Heartland while the Sgt. Pepper's band was away, so I don't know. But yeah, so Billy Preston literally he comes to life as this weather vane, sings a song, fixes everything, and then goes back to being a weather vane. That's it. And he just like magically comes to life out of the weather vane, just out of nowhere. It's kind of weird. But yeah, then it's the Sgt. Pepper's band and all of these other people. I recognized Tina Turner. I didn't really recognize anyone else. And they all get together and they sing the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band song. And that's how the movie ends. That's pretty much the whole thing. But yeah, I think I could say watch it if you're like curious about it. It's not like a bad movie or anything. It's just like really cheesy. But you know, sometimes that's kind of fun. Sometimes I watch like really cheesy or kind of goofy movies. It's like the silliest in a sense of like the Beatles movies I've watched, but certainly not like the weirdest, because that definitely belongs. Yellow Submarine is a really weird movie, but it's also really well animated. It's part of the reason I like it so much. But all the music, most of the music performances in this, there's only really like two I'd say that I just had to skip through that I didn't like. But most of them are pretty good. It was cool getting to see bands like Earth, Wind and Fire, or people like Alice Cooper and stuff get to sing Beatles songs, but they're like specifically, they're not trying to sing it, in the same way as the Beatles. They're like doing their own thing, and that's really cool. But yeah, I've always really liked the Bee Gees, so I'm happy with them playing the main characters. Like I said, I've never really listened to Peter Frampton, but now I really liked the way his voice sounds. It's a lot higher than I thought it would be. I bet if I googled him, I'm gonna do that real quick. I bet if I googled him, I'll probably recognize the title of at least like one song, because his voice did sound like a bit familiar. You know how sometimes you like listen to people, but you might, or you listen to songs you might not know who the singer is and stuff. Oh, okay, I think I know the song Show Me the Way. Okay, he has a cover of While My Guitar Gently Weeps. I'm gonna have to listen to that. I don't really know most of these, actually. I might know Show Me the Way. Baby, I love you. Wait, yeah, I recognize a couple of these. They're all like classic rock songs and stuff. Let me just check these out real quick. Okay. I started listening to Show Me the Way. I actually really liked that song. I wouldn't have guessed that it was him because his voice sounds so much higher in the movie, actually, to how he like normally sounds. It's kind of interesting that I wouldn't have recognized it was him. And it's not even that, like, oh, he was younger in the movie or anything, because the song is from, like, 1975, and the movie's from, like, 1978. So that's kind of interesting. But yeah, I guess I have listened to him, and I just didn't realize. Interesting. But yeah, a lot of cool performances. That's kind of like the main reason to watch this movie. If you're curious of like, what if the Bee Gees and I guess also Peter Frampton sang a bunch of Beatles songs, or what if a bunch of musicians from like the 70s got to sing a bunch of Beatles songs, and you get like a wacky little plot to go along with it, then this is the movie for that. I don't know if I'll watch more movies about the Beatles. It's kind of like a really interesting rabbit hole to go down, because there's so many directions it can go, which I think is really cool. Where you have ones like this and Across the Universe where it's like jukebox musicals. You have stuff like Yellow Submarine where it's like the Beatles themselves. I know they also have another movie called Get Help. I haven't seen that one. And then there's ones like Yesterday where it's like also kind of its own thing. That one was kind of weird. I didn't really care for it as much. I might just go down that Wikipedia rabbit hole and see like how many movies are there about the Beatles and how and their music, and that aren't like documentaries or stuff. And maybe that'll be something I'll explore on this channel. I don't know. But yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on the movie. I'd never heard about it before or anything. I didn't know it existed. Because at the time I'm watching it, it's on Netflix. The funny thing is, and I've never had this happen to me before with any Netflix movie, if you go to the More Like This, where it gives you similar movies, nothing pops up. That's the first time that's ever happened. I don't know if Netflix just doesn't know what to do with this movie or something. But yeah, it's on there. What was I gonna say? But I just stumbled it on there, and I was like, oh cool, it's the Bee Gees, they get to sing Beatles songs. I almost wasn't gonna watch it, actually. I thought, this sounds like it's probably gonna be kind of cheesy or whatever, but musically I enjoyed it. Plot wise, I'm just kind of whatever on it, but it's still fun, I'd say. All right, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.